So Bricks Builder 1.4 was officially released yesterday, and with it are over 300 updates, fixes, new features, and so much more. Now, obviously, I can't cover all of those things in this particular video, but I will link to Thomas's video. You can take a look on there because he covers a lot more than I can in this particular video. What I'm going to focus on, though, are some of the key things that I think really open up what you can do. The most important thing for me at this point in time is the phase 2 part of WooCommerce integration. In the previous version, 1.3 release, we got the ability to customize the archive page for WooCommerce and the single product page for WooCommerce. In this second phase, we can now customize the cart page, the checkout page, and various different aspects of that. In the third phase, we'll have access to the ability to customize the whole account process inside WooCommerce. Now, I'll also cover some of the other things that I think are really useful, but let's take a look first of all at the WooCommerce updates. So if we jump over into my little test site, this is what we have. This is a customized My Cart sort of cart page. As you can see, we've got the products that are inside there. We can update the quantity, apply coupons inside here. We've got our card totals. We can go ahead and proceed to checkout. If we jump onto the checkout page, you can see inside there we've got a customized checkout page with the shipping address, the normal address, the account address, the order details, payment information, and all those kinds of things. So we can completely and utterly customize pretty much every aspect of what you can do inside here. So let's hop back over into the dashboard. Let's wipe these out and let's take a look at starting from scratch so I can show you some of the key options you have to customize the whole WooCommerce experience. Now, to access these particular pages, all we need to do is hop over into the Bricks section in your dashboard, open up the templates area, and inside there we can now start to create the templates in exactly the same way we've done before. We simply create the template, tell it where we want to use it, and that will override any of the normal WooCommerce templates. So nothing more to do other than that. So let's just go ahead and delete the cart and the checkout pages. Once we've removed those, let's go ahead and add a new template, and we'll start off with the cart template. So we're going to call this cart default. What we need to do now is tell it where we want to use this template. So you come to the template type over on the right hand side. We can drop that down. You can see we now have more WooCommerce options. So for this example, we want to set this to the cart, but we want to take a little look at some of the other options inside here, because you can customize not just the cart and the checkout page, but you can customize other aspects. So for example, we can choose the cart, which was when you put something into your cart, this is the template that will be used. However, you can also customize the empty cart template and create something totally unique there. You may want to push people over to popular products, those kinds of things, if they accidentally land on your cart page. You've also got things like the checkout, which we'll take a look at, but you've also got the pay, the thank you, and the order receipt templates, which we can customize as well. Now, we're not going to cover all of these. The process is pretty much the same, so we'll focus on the cart and we'll focus on the checkout for now. Let's choose this as the cart option. We'll hit on publish so we can save and commit those changes. And now what we need to do is go ahead and edit this with Bricks. So now once we open this up, you can see on the left-hand side where we've got all our widgets, we now have WooCommerce-centric options. So you've got things like your mini cart, cart totals, and so on. So pretty much everything to do with your normal cart options. So we don't want to use everything inside here. But let's go ahead and add in a container. We'll give ourselves a little bit of space above this. So now we can go ahead and we can go and add in the various different parts. So for example, we want to add the cart items. So we can simply add this into our container, and that will now pull in the cart items using the default values as part of the theme that you've set up. So now we can simply go ahead and customize this. So we can choose this particular element, go ahead and choose the container. Let's give ourselves a little bit of breathing space. So we'll just pop in some padding on there, link those together, and we'll just set the background color. We'll just set that to white for now. So you can see this is how easy it is to go ahead and add in the key parts. So now we can come into our cart items and we can see what options are available. So we come into products, you can see we can now go ahead and enable or disable pretty much any part of this template. So you don't want the links inside there, well, you can disable it. Hide remove option, you can disable it. Hide the thumbnail if you don't want that, if you're selling products that don't need a thumbnail, whatever you want. So you can see you can easily enable and disable pretty much every aspect of this. You can go in and adjust the typography, the price typography, the quantity, subtotal. You can hide your header if you want to, if you're using headers. You can go ahead, customize the body. You know, you have all the options you need to customize the various different aspects, including your buttons. So if you want to change the colors, the typography, any borders, and the same goes for the coupon. You can even go ahead and hide the coupon from this section and go and add that into its own dedicated section if you want to. So let's take a look at doing something like that. Let's create another container. we'll make sure that's outside this area. So there's our container. We'll simply copy our style from the main container so we don't have to duplicate everything. Copy that and then just paste those styles in. There we go. So now we can go ahead back into our widgets, and what we can do is we can go and grab that option for putting the cart coupon in. So we can drag that in, pop that inside there, and we now have a custom coupon area, and we can style this and do whatever we want with it. So it's easy to build these various different components up, enable and disable various different things. For this example though, let's remove that from there. Let's go back to our cart items and let's switch back on our coupon option. Okay, so let's come back over now into our elements. And now you can see we can go ahead and add other things inside here. So let's say we want the cart total so people can see how much this is going to cost them. So we'll just drop that into that container. And there's our cart totals and our proceed to checkout option. So we can just jump straight over. So that's how easy it is to set things up inside here. Let's save this template. And now we can hop back out and go back to our template list. Let's go back into bricks, back into templates. And let's add a new template. This time we're going to create our checkout. So we're going to call this checkout default. Again, we'll come over to our template type, set this to be our checkout. We'll publish this and edit with bricks one more time. So yet again, if we take a look on the left-hand side, you can see we've got various different WooCommerce centric options which we can include in this template. So let's go and add our container in. Let's just simply go ahead and paste our styles inside there so everything is brought over and we have that consistency. And what we're going to do now is we're going to simply come in and we can add in our checkout customer. So we can drop that inside there. And there's all our checkout options. So you can see if we scroll through, we've got our shipping details, we've got our normal details. Everything is laid out. So we can come in again, we can select this, and now we can go ahead and we can remove any fields we want. We can customize this. So let's say, for example, we don't want things like your company name is not applicable. We can disable it. You want to add more options to disable those. You may say, well, we're only selling to one country, so we don't need to worry about country, those kinds of things. We may not want to worry about phone numbers. You can do the same then from your shipping fields. So you can enable or disable any of the fields inside there. So again, we'll take off the company name. We can hide our title from here. We can also go ahead and hide the labels to kind of create a much more streamlined layout. So you can see now we've customized the checkout for the billing information and for the shipping information. And again, you've got your typography options. So where we've got these placeholders, we can come in and we can change that information inside there, change the color, make it a little darker. You can set anything you want inside there as well. So you can customize the alignment of this. You can change the uppercase, you can change it to all lowercase, capitalize it, whatever you want to do. You can change the font family, font weight, style. So let's just say you want to set that to italic. Really is incredibly simple to work with. If you don't want the additional information, these notes at the bottom, you can disable that option as well. So really easy to do. So we've now created our billing information. Let's go ahead and add another container in now so we can put on the right hand side and we can put even more information for the checkout process. Okay, so I've now gone ahead, set up my 2-column layout. We've got all our information for our customer on the left hand side. Now let's put our order information on the right hand side so we can come in, grab that, drop that into our section, our layout, and you can see there now that pulls in the items we've got inside here, the payment options, delivery, place our order, all the normal things you'd expect as part of the checkout process. And again, we have options included inside the checkout order review. Come to our content, you can see we can hide the title if we want to. We can adjust the typography, we can use dynamic information inside here, we can adjust all the padding, come to the payment options, all those options inside there to customize things, and the same come down to the terms. We can just set the typography for all these different elements. So it's incredibly simple to go ahead and customize all the different aspects of this particular checkout page. Really easy to do. So once we've finished, all we need to do is save this. We've now created our second template. So our cart is done and our checkout section is done. So we've pretty much covered those key basics. Now we just need to repeat that procedure for the other templates that's part of the WooCommerce checkout process, your empty cart, those kinds of things, using pretty much exactly the same process that I've just covered here. So now let's just hop over to the front of the site and let's just check our templates are all working as they should do. So here's our cart. If we add another product inside there, update our totals, everything works perfectly fine. There's our cart total information underneath, including our shipping, those kinds of things. Head over to our checkout option. And inside there, there's our customized checkout page, all set up, ready for us. So really easy to work with. You know, you can't ask for more than that. So now we've seen the major update, which includes the WooCommerce updates. There's a couple of other things that I think are worth noting, and we'll also take a look at some of the things that I can't really show you very easily, but they are worth taking a look at. So first of all, we've got some really cool enhancements. If you are like me, you work on multiple tabs on the same project in your browser, switching back and forth to do different things, maybe copy and paste in between different sort of pages, tabs, those kinds of things. This is one of those little things that I think is going to be incredibly useful. You can update certain aspects of your design inside the one tab, and it will automatically be updated in the other tabs without the need to save, refresh, or reload that actual page in all the different tabs. Let me demonstrate what I'm talking about. I've got literally 2 tabs open on the same site, and I'm going to make a change to one of the global settings. Now, this isn't just limited to global settings, but this is a good example. So we've got the title. We're using one of the headings. Let's go ahead and take a look at our settings inside there. Let's open up our theme styles, and let's go into our typography option. Come down to all our headings, and let's just change the color of this. So we'll change all our heading color, and we'll change those to this red color. So you can see all the headings inside here have changed to red. Now I'm not going to save anything. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to simply open up the other tab that also has the headings inside there, and you see that's updated inside there. So that's now updated that to that red color. So we can do the same inside here. We could come in, go into our styles, go into our theme styles, come down to our typography, all headings, and we'll change that to something else. We'll change that to this blue color, and we'll also go ahead and just make some changes to the actual typography for this. So we'll set the font size on there, and we'll set this to 36, for example. We set this to be all uppercase. And if we wanted to, we could adjust anything else like text shadows and so on. So I've made those changes. All I'm going to do now is just jump back over into the other tab, and all our headings have been updated. Like I say, one of those things that's not going to change the world, but it's a nice thing to see, and just to speed things up, we don't need to go ahead and save things in between those different tabs if you're working on multiple different pages. Now, this auto syncing, as it's called in Bricks, also applies to global elements, classes, global classes that are locked, pseudo classes, theme styles, color palettes, pinned elements, and so on. So that's pretty cool. So let me give you one more example, this pinned elements option. Now, one of the things I really like about Bricks, and it's something that Elementor has definitely adopted, is the ability to go ahead and grab any of the widgets you use on a regular basis and pin them. So for example, if we pin the container, you can see now we have a pinned element at the top of our left-hand panel. If we switch over to the other tab and go back into our elements, there's our pinned element inside there. There's our pinned container. We can unpin that, switch back over to the first tab, and as you can see, that's now gone. So all these different states are being transitioned between all the different tabs inside your browser. I think, like I say, it's pretty cool, nice little time saver. Now, one of the other things that I really like is when you're working with the structure panel on the right-hand side, which is a really quick and easy way of being able to navigate around your whole structure, there's a couple of quality of life things that I like here. For example, when you start to get more complex designs like you can see going on here, it can get a little bit awkward to try and drop a new widget into your design and get exactly where you want in the page itself. So what you can do now is you can easily come over, and let's say we want this heading, we can drag this over and we can position that inside the structure panel itself. So you can see we might want this between the heading and the image gallery. We can drop that and bang, it goes in there. Very easy and a nice visual way of seeing exactly where you want these different elements to be dropped in. So again, another one of those little things that just makes the whole process so much easier when you're working with more complex designs, or you may just like that way of being able to quickly and easily just drop it straight into the structure panel. Just speeds up the whole process. Pretty cool. Now, another little thing that you may not notice at first is when you're working with the structure panel, you can see it still looks the same as it always has done. Everything just shows up kind of nested. However, when we click on the container itself, you can see inside there we now get this little hierarchical view that shows us exactly where things are related to each other. Let's come over to our more complex example, and you see everything looks the same as it already does, but once you click on any of those containers, it will now show you the whole hierarchy inside there in a very visual way. This is great when you're looking at how things are nested, how they're embedded. You know, one of those things that's not going to change the world, but it does kind of make the whole process of working inside the editor really, really nice. And these are the kinds of things that I like to see. I'd like to see more of this kind of thing going on because it does make working inside what is already a pretty nice editor even nicer. So pretty cool. Now let's just take a look at some of the things that I'm not going to demonstrate in this particular video, but I think they are worth noting. So these are the change logs. This is the information that breaks down everything that's been changed, updated, fixed, all those kinds of things. And I'll put a link in the description to this so you can check this out yourself. First of all, they've given us a builder rewrite. So they've moved away from the reliance upon third-party external sources for the actual drag and drop tools and functions inside the editor itself in favor of creating their own. So originally they were using Sortable.js, which is a JavaScript library. However, they've built this completely from scratch now and moved away from that reliance, which is a good thing to see, because if something happened, if Sortable.js stopped being supported for whatever reason, that would have a big problem when it comes to the Bricks builder. Having their own means that they can control everything inside the whole structure of the builder itself. And you should make sure that this now is a little bit snappier, a little bit easier to work with, and feel a little bit more responsive. And in my testing, it has been really, really nice to work in the interface. Bricks has always been pretty fast anyway, but now this gives you even more. It kind of feels a lot more like a desktop application and less an in-browser feature. On top of that, they're optimizing the HTML code. So you can see they're moving away from, first of all, having the wrapper container inside each of the different elements. They've got rid of that completely now in favor of keeping it a little bit more streamlined. So again, this is one of those things that will reduce the amount of code. Every single item, every container, everything like that inside Bricks prior to 1.4 had a wrapper around it, which meant that everything had 2 extra lines of code that weren't necessarily needed. This could mount up very quickly over a more complex, comprehensive design. That has now been removed in favor of simplifying and streamlining it. So this can reduce the amount of code that's being generated, therefore making a much smaller page. Again, which helps improve the page load times. So pretty cool to see that. They've also optimized the ID and class names. In favor of having bricks-something, they're now removing that and they're using BRXE-. Doesn't sound like a lot, but every character on something that can be repeated hundreds, if not thousands of times in your code will reduce the file size. So all these little pieces in combination with each other can potentially make a noticeable difference on your page load times and the server resources needed to output the content of your page. Now, speaking of code and so on, jQuery has been completely removed from the front end of Bricks. If you still need to use this for whatever reason, there's a little block of code. You can add this into your functions PHP file to bring it back. And obviously, if you're using plugins or things that rely upon jQuery, they will still have access to it because they will load that library and reference that library themselves. But Bricks Builder itself, if nothing else is using it, will not use jQuery. So again, one of those things removes that reliance upon the jQuery library, which is pretty cool. We've also got some pretty cool news when it comes to dynamic data. Jet Engine is now being supported in Bricks Builder, which is great to see. More support for Jet Engine is starting to be rolled out across more third-party tools, which for me is something that I think is super cool to see. This opens up the ability to use it inside the Bricks Builder, and while we have support for various different aspects, when 1.41 is released, which hopefully won't be too long, we should start to see even more support for some more advanced features. So things like Jet Engine Repeater, those kinds of things. And we will see support for ACF repeaters and groups alongside Metabox groups, Jet Engine repeaters, and ACF relationships in the Bricks query loop. So pretty cool to see we're going to have access to those extra dynamic features. You'll also be able to use PHP functions. And you can see if we take a look at the changelog, there's a link to the Run PHP Functions documentation, so if you want to take a look at that in the Bricks Academy, this will give you a breakdown of how to use it in your particular projects. But again, opens up even more power using PHP functions directly inside the builder itself. Now, the final thing I want to quickly touch upon is if you work as part of a team and you are looking to use Bricks Builder or you already use it, there can be a problem if 2 or more people are working on a project at the same time and one makes a save to something that would normally globally change everything. And if someone else is halfway through making changes and then they save, this can have all sorts of problems where one overwrites the other. With 1.4 and beyond, we have a new option, which is the only save actual changes. So this will only save the changes that you've made to that particular page or project, as opposed to saving everything. If you want to force that to save everything, you can do that by using Command or Control Shift S, and that will force save everything like it did prior to version 1.4. So this is more focused on teams, and Thomas covers this in a little bit more detail. And again, there's more information in the changelog if you want to find out more about this. but having that support for working with teams is good to see, and it does, like I say, hopefully streamline the process and save you from having potential problems where you're overwriting each other's changes on a project. So before we wrap things up, let's take a quick look at the roadmap and see what's in progress, what's coming next, and what's sort of planned to come out. Now take this with a pinch of salt, because you don't always get this in the order that they see them, and sometimes what's coming next actually gets pushed forward to the in progress. This is not necessarily kept up to date all of the time. But as you can see, conditional display logic has a lot of votes on it for this to be one of the features that are actually released. For me personally, that's one of the things I want to see. That in combination with dynamic data and the loop build that we have in Bricks opens up the potential to be a real contender without the need for third-party tools to do a lot of these core fundamental things. You can also see that we're talking about in progress. We've got the CSS grid layout for the container element. So alongside CSS Flexbox, CSS grid is something that's looking to be integrated into Bricks Builder moving forward. So I think with those options, once they kind of come out, I think we're going to have a really solid builder in Bricks. And alongside the 1.5 update that brings out the phase 3 of the WooCommerce, so we can customize the whole account side of things, you've got total control over most of the aspects you should need. Well, that's what I wanted to cover in this video. Are you excited to see these new additions? Is Bricks Builder a tool you're using, you're considering using, or you're holding off for something in particular? Let me have your thoughts in the comment section below. If you want to find out more about Bricks Builder, the loop builder it's included and so on, then check out the video you can see in the corner on one of these sites anyway, and linked in the description. As always, my name is Paul C. This is WPTuts, and until next time, take care.